Hello, everyone. This is Bridget Danner with Hormone Detox Shop, and I've been meaning to come on and share my mold story. So, if you've never heard it or you've only heard parts of it, snuggle up because here is my story. So, once upon a time, in about 2007, there was a young woman who fell in love and got engaged and moved into a new old home, new to her, um, with her soon to be husband. And in the next year, she started a clinic, got married, got pregnant. So it was a busy time of life. And this girl, who was me, wasn't sleeping as well, was more nervous. And then after the baby came, after not the easiest pregnancy, um, kind of all that ramped up and increased. So of course thinking, okay, it's my hormones, okay, it's stress. And luckily I made some good changes with getting a coach, really working on my diet, cooking a lot of my own foods, making bone broth, really avoiding gluten and dairy. So making some good changes, but not seeing my health completely stabilized. Winter times were really hard for me, a lot of colds and flus, a lot of chronic back pain that just never resolved, spotting with my periods, fatigue in the afternoon. Started to have caffeine in the afternoon for the first time in my life. I had never had caffeine. Some funny things happened, pink eye. Eventually I was given an Epstein-Barr diagnosis for some of the viral stuff that did help. But it was like very up and down. And then finally one late fall, Thanksgiving time, I got strep throat and was really sick, had to get on antibiotics. I remember asking the urgent care nurse practitioner, could I have this Epstein-Barr again? I feel the same way. And she said, no, you can't have it again. Things just really flattened from there. I was detoxing. I was getting IV therapy. I just wasn't getting better. I was so tired. Nothing was helping. So I asked these naturopaths at a naturopathic college I was going to, can you please just help me figure out what this is? I'm going to yoga. I'm going to bed at 10 p.m. I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to do. So they tested me for some autoimmunity. And they also asked me if anything had changed in my environment, which was such a great question that really doesn't get asked often enough. So I'm very thankful for that question. There were a couple new things in my home, and one of them was some flooding in the basement. When I say there was some leaking in the basement. So we had a basement. It was carpeted, which was silly. It was mostly just for storage, but it always kind of smelled. And I was going down there more because we had a cat, and its litter box was down there. We just got the cat too. So I mentioned that, and then we ended up doing some testing on the home. I didn't know much about mold at the time. I just knew enough to know I didn't want to have it. And I really didn't even want to test because I had a sense of what a mess it could make of our lives, which it definitely did. So we had an inspector come out. We had mold in the home. And then we proceeded to make some good choices and some really bad choices about how to remediate the mold in the home. I specialize in mold detox for your body. I'm not as much in the home space, except in my own personal experience, and then, working a bit with clients and just educating. So I definitely think it's incredibly important to make the correct decisions about your home and how you start to make changes in the home, because you can make yourself a lot sicker, which is what happened to me. Now my eyelid was twitching, my legs had restless leg. I couldn't remember anything. I literally, every thought I had to recall it 5 more times before I could remember it long enough to act on it. I would like lose my phone. It was rough. My brain was just not working, and I was even more tired now. I felt like tired in my bones. I was so tired that I started to think it would be nice to not wake up in the morning. And it wasn't because I was depressed, it was because I was so tired that I just wanted to like sleep forever. So that was a scary thing to think. But so I know when those kind of thoughts come up, I'm fully aware it's not a choice. It's really like your body is just like giving you messages. So lots of back and forth with the home and moving, and I don't want to go into all those details because it takes so long, but starting to work with some practitioners to detox, um, and getting, some quick wins, and some things, now many years later, it's 2020 as I record this, some things I still have to be careful about, moldy foods, certainly, some systems of mine that are still a little weakened. I still do a lot of detox practices, and I'm a big advocate for it. So it's a long journey. I'm probably skipping a lot, but I kind of just wanted to give you a sense of, how this got started for me, why I got into it. I was working as an acupuncturist, clinician, doing women's health, working on pain. I didn't, as none of us do, I didn't want this mold stuff to come into my life. But through it happening, I became an expert on detox and on toxic mold. And I think my approach is pretty unique because I put a lot of the power in your hands. So through self-care you can do at home that's more affordable. And we put testing options right in your hands. Anywhere in the US, sometimes to other countries, we can get these kits to you and you mail them back to the lab. We can review them. We can talk about them. You can also just hire us to review labs or tests you've already run. So going back a bit, again, this detox wasn't really my specialty, but it became so important to me in my life to keep learning about it that I really wanted and needed to share it. And it works out in a way really perfectly, because the whole reason I got into natural medicine was because I was an environmentalist. And now I've come full circle around, and I've created this business where people are living more naturally in a non-toxic kind of way, and I'm supporting them with the health expertise that I have. So it took me a while to even come out of, my own recovery and be able to offer these services. So, I'm not just offering it because it's trendy. Like I feel it's my calling. And when my health was finally strong enough to start doing it, which took a while, and we slowly started adding some mold supplements and testing services. So I do some coaching, my team does some coaching. We're all very versed in toxic mold. I'll just show you briefly a couple of the tests we run. This is a Great Plains test, and it's a urine test for mycotoxins that toxic mold gives out. It can also test for other chemicals and biomarkers optionally. This happens to be a Dutch hormone test, which is also a kind of test that you could include. It's in our ultimate mold package. One thing that happens in toxic mold, well, two things that happen. One is your brain becomes inflamed, and then the signaling to make hormones can diminish. Another thing that happens is the mitochondria are damaged from mold, and that's where hormone production sort of begins. So then hormone production can be low. Okay, now I have a third point. Third point is if detoxification is limited and the gut is not healthy because of toxic mold, which it will not be, then you could not be processing out used hormones correctly. So you can get a lot of hormone imbalance in addition to other things. So we really look at the whole body when you have toxic mold, and just, meet you where you're at. We also just started to offer a dust test for your home from Real Time Labs, because we were getting so many questions about that. And again, we're not going to be the ones to go out and do the remediation of your home, but I can tell you that there's a gap I'm seeing between the remediator or the contractor and the health practitioner. And if you don't talk to your health practitioner about how you're going to go about your home, you can make some errors, unfortunately. So that's my story and how I ended up being so intimate with the topic of toxic mold. I'm starting to write a book about it, and just honestly, I know how incredibly hard it is, and I probably skipped over some of the, hardest parts about we lost everything we owned, we had to move, but I can tell you in the end, all those sacrifices are worth it to regain your health. And I think that's one of my strengths as a coach in this space as well, is that I know what I'm asking. Sometimes I know I'm asking a lot, but I know that I had to make those same hard choices, and they paid off in spades for me. So thanks for watching, and we'd be really honored to support you in your mold journey.